The sun, a molten orb in the cerulean sky, beat down mercilessly on meticulously manicured lawns of Willow Creek estates. Willow Creek, an enclave of precisely replicated suburban bliss, was a place where conformity reigned supreme, where the gentle hum of lawnmowers was the soundtrack of summer, and where the most dramatic event was usually a rogue dandelion daring to sprout in a perfectly weeded flower bed. Within this haven of homogeneity lived Karen Albright, a woman whose name had become synonymous with a particular brand of suburban tyranny. Karen, with her perfectly coiffed blonde bob, designer sunglasses perched on her nose, and a permanent frown etched into her features, was a self-appointed guardian of Willow Creek's pristine aesthetic. She was the president of the Homeowners Association, HOA, a position she wielded with the zeal of a medieval inquisitor. Her reign was characterized by meticulously crafted bylaws, passive-aggressive emails, and an uncanny ability to spot a violation from 100 yards away. Her latest crusade, however, was about to ignite a firestorm that would shake the very foundations of Willow Creek. It began with a simple observation, a flicker of irritation that quickly escalated into a full-blown obsession. Karen had noticed an alarming increase in the number of residents walking dogs. Not just any dogs, mind you, but dogs of all shapes, sizes, and breeds. There were fluffy Pomeranians, rambunctious Labradors, and even a hulking Great Dane that seemed to dwarf its owner. To Karen, dogs were an affront to the carefully cultivated tranquility of Willow Creek. They were noisy, messy, and unpredictable. They left behind unsightly deposits on the pristine lawns, and their barking shattered the serene silence that Karen so cherished. She envisioned a Willow Creek overrun by drooling, shedding, and barking canines, a veritable canine apocalypse. And so, Karen embarked on her mission to ban pets from Willow Creek. She drafted a new bylaw, a draconian document that would effectively outlaw all pets, with the exception of goldfish and the occasional hypoallergenic cat, subject to stringent approval, of course. The bylaw was filled with legal jargon, carefully worded clauses, and a thinly veiled disdain for all things furry and four-legged. She called an emergency HOA meeting, a gathering that promised to be anything but harmonious. The meeting room, a sterile space with beige walls and fluorescent lighting, was packed to the brim. Residents, normally docile and compliant, were seething with anger. They had come to defend their beloved pets, their furry companions, their family members. Karen, oblivious to the simmering resentment, launched into her presentation, her voice sharp and authoritative. She painted a grim picture of Willow Creek's future, a dystopian vision of barking dogs, trampled flower beds, and uncollected deposits. She cited statistics, quoted obscure legal precedents, and even presented a PowerPoint presentation filled with graphic images of dog-related incidents. The room remained silent, a tense, expectant silence. Then, a voice broke the stillness. It was Mrs. Henderson, a sweet, elderly woman who lived at the end of the cul-de-sac. She had a tiny Yorkshire Terrier named Buttons, a creature so small and docile that it barely made a sound. "Karen," Mrs. Henderson said, her voice trembling slightly, "Buttons is my family. He's my companion, my friend. He's all I have since my husband passed away. Are you really going to take him away from me?" Karen, momentarily flustered, stammered a reply about maintaining property values and upholding the bylaws, but her words fell on deaf ears. The room erupted in a chorus of protests. Residents stood up, one after another, to share their stories of the joy and companionship that their pets brought to their lives. There was Mr. Johnson, a retired veteran, who spoke of his service dog, a German shepherd named Max, who helped him cope with PTSD. There was Sarah Miller, a single mother, who talked about her rescue cat, Whiskers, who had brought comfort and laughter to her children after a difficult divorce. There was even young Timmy, a boy of about 10, who tearfully pleaded for his hamster, Squeaky, who was his best friend. The stories poured forth, a torrent of emotion that washed over Karen's carefully constructed arguments. The residents of Willow Creek, normally a quiet and reserved bunch, had found their voice. They were no longer willing to tolerate Karen's tyranny. The meeting descended into chaos. Voices were raised, accusations were hurled, and tears were shed. Karen, her face flushed with anger and disbelief, tried to regain control, but her words were drowned out by the rising tide of dissent. Then, A new voice emerged, a calm and measured tone that cut through the din. It was Mr. Garcia, a lawyer who lived in the corner house. He had been quietly observing the proceedings, his eyes narrowed in concentration. "Karen," he said, his voice firm but respectful, "your proposed bylaw is not only cruel, it's also illegal. The Fair Housing Act protects the rights of individuals with disabilities to have assistance animals. And many of these pets provide emotional support and companionship, which are essential for the well-being of their owners." He went on to explain the legal implications of Karen's bylaw, citing relevant case law and legal precedents. He painted a picture of costly lawsuits and public embarrassment for the HOA. Karen, her face now ashen, realized that she had overstepped her bounds. She had underestimated the residents of Willow Creek, their love for their pets, and their willingness to fight for what they believed in. The meeting ended with a resounding defeat for Karen. The proposed bylaw was withdrawn, and a new committee was formed to revise the existing pet policy, with a focus on responsible pet ownership and community harmony. The backlash against Karen was swift and decisive. Residents plastered, "I love my pet" signs in their windows, organized a community dog walk, and even held a pet appreciation day in the park. Karen, once the undisputed ruler of Willow Creek, found herself ostracized and isolated. Her emails were ignored. Her phone calls went unanswered, and her presence was met with cold stares and whispered insults. She tried to salvage her reputation, to apologize for her actions, but the damage was done. The residents of Willow Creek had seen her true colors, and they were not impressed. The incident served as a wake-up call for Willow Creek. The community, once defined by its conformity and homogeneity, had discovered its voice, its sense of unity, and its willingness to stand up for what was right. The pet ban fiasco became a legend, a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power and the importance of empathy and compassion. Karen, the once feared and respected HOA president, became a symbol of everything that was wrong with suburban tyranny. Willow Creek, meanwhile, underwent a transformation. The community embraced its diversity, its individuality, and its love for its furry friends. The sounds of barking dogs and happy laughter filled the air, replacing the sterile silence that had once defined the neighborhood. The lawns, once meticulously manicured, now bore the marks of playful paws and wagging tails. The flower beds, once perfectly weeded, now sported the occasional dog-dug hole. But the residents of Willow Creek didn't mind. They had learned that true beauty wasn't found in sterile perfection, but in the messy, joyful chaos of life, in the bonds of friendship and companionship, in the love between humans and their pets. Karen, humbled and chastened, eventually resigned from her position as HOA president. She moved to a gated community in another state, a place where the rules were even stricter and the lawns were even more manicured. But even there, she couldn't escape the whispers, the knowing glances, the lingering reputation of the HOA Karen who tried to ban pets. The story of Karen and the pet ban became a local legend, a tale told and retold at backyard barbecues and neighborhood gatherings. It was a story about the power of community, the importance of compassion, and the enduring love between humans and their pets. It was a story that reminded everyone that even in the most meticulously planned and controlled environments, the human spirit and the love of a furry companion can always find a way to prevail. Years later, Willow Creek held a dedication for a new dog park, a sprawling green space with agility equipment, a water fountain, and plenty of room for dogs to run and play. The park was named Buttons Bark Park, in honor of Mrs. Henderson's little Yorkshire Terrier, a symbol of the community's resilience and its unwavering love for its pets. The sun, a golden orb in the twilight sky, cast long shadows across the park. The sounds of barking dogs and happy laughter filled the air, a symphony of joy that echoed to the streets of Willow Creek. And in that moment, everyone knew that Willow Creek had truly become a home, a place where pets and their humans could live together in harmony, a place where the love of a furry friend was valued above all else. The Karen era was over, and a new, more loving, more accepting Willow Creek had taken its place.